Alright, here we are in part 4 of the Ultimate Electric Guitar Technique Setup Guide. So in this video I will talk about how to apply all the phrasing elements and how to perform them properly. And in the previous videos we talked first about, and in the previous posts and articles I talked about how to set up your posture. So you should start from number 1. Then in the next we talked mostly about playing rhythm and scales, and then the third part we talk about how to really play sweep picking arpeggios. So very worth checking out. And now we will look into how to perform and how to really play phrasing elements properly so that everything runs smoothly and you can really sound great while you're doing this. So let's start with string bends. This is technically probably the most, it's not very complicated, but from all the phrasing elements I'm showing you, this will be the most complicated, but it's really not that difficult. You have to get a hang of it and get it into your playing first properly. But here's how you do it. So if you want to perform a string bend, so string bends is when you take a note here and then you bend it upwards, okay, to another pitch, to the next pitch, for example D to E. That is a string bend. Now the way to perform this for the best stability in your wrist and to hit the pitch the most reliable with every finger that you can possibly perform a string bend with is to try to stick to this kind of twist of your arm motion, and don't do any fluttering like a chicken or something. You don't need that. Imagine you turn a doorknob like this, so your wrist is really just turning in this joint here. It's doing nothing else or weird. It's really just a twist. That should be the ideal case. It's humanly, ergonomically not totally possible, but that is the baseline that you want to try to get in. So then when you know how to do this kind of angle motion, like in the door, the kind of angled, forgot the word for that right now, but the things where the door is locked in and then it just moving back and forth, turning around those angles. So this is how your wrist should turn, and you can try it. It's like rolling your side of the hand over the fretboard, and then what you do is you hook your thumb in, and you still do this, and now you release your finger down to the fretboard, and nothing much has changed really. Like just the angle is a little bit different. It's not like 90 degrees anymore. It's just a little bit like this. Now your finger goes down to the fretboard. So in this case I have the middle finger, and all you do now is you try to use the power of the twist of your wrist, of your arm, to move the string. No finger pushing or anything. That's probably the weakest thing that you could do, and you will exhaust quickly there, and you want to stay relaxed. So this is really highly recommended. And your finger needs a little bit of power, because else you will just do this and nothing happens on the string. So your finger translates the power of the wrist rotation to the string. So this is what it will look like. You can go a little bit closer so you can see the string maybe, and I'm bending it upward just mainly from the twist of my wrist as the main power source. I'm bending up here, okay, and I'm holding it there. So that's how that is done. Now, once you get the technical side down, no, actually not once, you can do this all at the same time. You can practice what I say next also at the same time, because that's even more important than getting the technique right, is that you sound great. So that should be the higher priority. The technique is just a means to achieve good sound. So keep that always in mind. As long as you have great sound and you can play everything well, it's not really much to worry about. But now let's imagine you want to practice this and you want to also learn how to stay in the right pitch. An easy exercise to get going with this is to play a C major scale, for example, on the G string, and you can later on play any other scale on any other string with any other finger. But let's start with a C major scale, middle finger on the string, on the G string, 5th fret we start. And now we are trying to play that major scale with string bends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move one fret down, so I have a half step bend, and I'm going to play a string bend and bend it up to the next note. So I want it to sound like this. And there we are on the pitch. So, and then the whole exercise would look like this. And if you have trouble landing on the pitch right away, you can play it before you perform the actual string bend. So it would look, for example, like this. This is kind of like doing this exercise with supporting wheels. And so on. So that was now the exercise performed with the middle finger, and the last note to make about this is, if you want to perform this exercise properly, what you have to do and pay attention to is that you not do something that I call dropping the ball. So it's like, it sounds like this. You want to stop the note from ringing before you release the bend, because then you have the previous note as a clear reference to how high you bend the next pitch. If you do this, your next string bend will probably sound a little bit messed up. So try not to drop the ball. That's the most important thing. So yeah, pay close attention to how high you do the string bend. So you want to hit the next pitch very accurately. You can use a tuner for this, but only when you're sure that your starting pitch is correctly. What's more important is that the relative bends are in tune, and you know by feel that you're going into the right pitch from where you are, that you can actually use your own ear to make this. So the metronome, not the metronome, the tuner can be an additional source of confirmation, but it shouldn't be the main reliable source for your proof if you're doing this right or not. Now I'm gonna talk about vibrato now, because that is really like just the next step on top of string bend. So it's getting very simply like a transition from string bends to vibrato, because all you do really on the technical side is this. Like it's a series of string bends and release. The technique is exactly the same, like you still twist your arm and do this here, but now you have additional things to pay attention to. And if you want to have really nice vibrato, the thing to listen to are three elements mainly. The first one is your tempo of the vibrato. So you can actually perform this to a metronome. So I'm gonna tap my foot now. So that would be kind of 8th note vibrato, but you can also do triplets and everything. I'll let you figure this out by yourself. Just try to select a certain note value and play this over a metronome according to the string bend, and line it up with your vibrato. And what you can also do is, there's no real rules here what you have to do musically. If you want to start from the up bend of the string bend part, so from when you go vibrato, you know you have hills and valleys. If you want to start on a hill on the beat, that's fine as well. Or somewhere in between, if you can train yourself to do this, that's very good. That was the first element. The second element is the form. No, it's the amplitude. The form comes later, but the amplitude is the second thing to pay attention to. And a way to practice this is you just play two amplitudes and you try to match them. So it's gonna look like and sound like this from the outside if you're practicing this. So what I'm gonna do now is I play a string bend up, release, string bend up, release, and then I stop and I repeat in my head. How did that sound? Did I make those two waves sound fitting to each other? So that was pretty good. Now that was not so good because the second amplitude, the second hill was not as high as the first hill. Okay, so that one example there that gone wrong. Now the last form, the last of the 3 points to pay attention to in vibrato is what I said earlier, is the form. And there you can have, you want to train yourself to perform many different forms if you want, but start with a nice sine wave, like the cosine, sine wave from math class back then in the 9th grade or whenever you do that. So that it's not like kind of like this, but really smooth. So that's how you train that just making a nice curve and nice sine wave. It should look like a real nice wave shape. So now we had string bends, we had vibrato, and the next thing is gonna be slides that we talk about. And technically there's really not much to say about this, because all you do is like you put your finger down and you keep the finger down and slide somewhere else. So that's the technical side. But there is an important mental part, maybe, if you can call it that, that will help you improve or play especially the further slides, the bigger slides, like octave or higher, much easier. And it also helps you with learning position shifts, to play position shifts much better. And that goes like this. So what you have to do there is, if you're playing somewhere here, you're already in the right position, and you could train yourself easily to not have to look there anymore when you're playing just here in this area. So now your eyes, they are free to look wherever they want. And if you know that your position shift, let's say into the 17th fret coming up, or 19th fret, or into the 17th position, is simply you already look, while you're playing here, you look down here where you slide next. And then you intuitively already slide into the right position if your eyes are actually glued to the right fret here. So that's a way to learn how to make bigger slides as well and perform them accurately without anything like this. Let me make a bad example one more time. Like ending up in the wrong fret. That's not nice. We want to avoid that. So that was slides. And of course you practice this with all your fingers, so all strings from many different contacts, and you get really good with this. The next and the last part in this series today is hammer-ons and pull-offs. So these things here. Okay? And from the technical point of view, there's again not much to say about this, but I'm gonna walk you through this step by step. So if you do a hammer-on, you have to really imagine it like it's not just putting your finger down, that's weak, but you want to really hammer it with some force down to the string. And then when you do the pull-off, what most people get wrong is they just lift up their finger because they see the pros do this, and then they wonder, why do I get not this thick tone that they get, like this one here. But what you can't see really with the eye, especially when you're on a high level, is that there is a small pulling down motion. If I exaggerate this now, it looks like this. So that's, don't do it yourself. Like, I mean, for practicing purpose or for calibrating, you can do this, but that you don't want to end up playing hammer-ons and pull-offs and looking like this. Because that will build up a lot of tension in your arm. It's just going to exhaust you and you will feel very crampy in your arm. But there's a remedy for that too. So first of all, you want to focus making small motions, still even while pulling down, making this pull-off here. And now every time you perform a pull-off, you have to train your muscle to very shortly relax during or after every pull-off motion, just very briefly. And you do this by slowing down first. You don't get around this here, but you actively have to send a signal to your arm from your brain and tell it, okay, now relax. So this is how it looks like. So I'm going to do the pull-off, and now I'm going to tell my forearm, relax. Now again, relax, relax, relax. And you can do this really by, at first to relax your whole arm so that even this note, the lower note, stops ringing, so that you really can relax your whole arm. Because if you don't do this, you will still have a small amount of tension in your arm. And in real life playing, that's fine. So you can practice both ways, like this and like this. Relax, 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 relax. So that's how you can get rid of excess tension in your forearm here. And that is everything I want to tell you now about the complete guitar technique breakdown setup guide here. And when you want more guidance with this, there's now a whole plethora of things that you can still learn. So everything to become a much better musician with all of those elements, and you are now very prepared to take the next step. What I recommend for you to do is to check out the Breakthrough Guitar Lessons from Tom Hess. You find a link in the description of this video if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you go to unleashguitar.com, there's also a little button or a banner that you can just click to check it out. And there's also a free 14-day guitar speed course that I remember you check out. It's going to help you tremendously to improve your speed playing, your fast playing, and also how to practice for fast guitar playing. And by that, we're done. So check everything out, and I hope this helped you. Leave a comment in the YouTube comment section, or if you're on Unleash Guitar, create an account there and leave a comment there. I will respond to everyone, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. It will be great because you can also write your own articles and blog posts there and tell me about your guitar journey. I really love hearing from you. So that's everything I wanted to talk about with you, and I will see you then later in the community.